Before you scroll, answer me honestly. How many nights have you secretly prayed for a sign while pretending to everyone that you were okay? And what if I told you, the person I sent to change your life is already standing closer to you than you realize? Stop scrolling for one moment, because heaven did not bring you here by accident. There is someone in your life right now that I sent for your protection, your healing, and your future. And if you ignore this message, you may miss what you prayed for. I need you to stop. Not because someone told you to stop, not because a title caught your eye, not because the algorithm placed this in front of you by accident. Stop, because I placed this in front of you. Before the foundations of the world were laid, before your mother drew her first breath, before the stars were scattered across the darkness like seeds from my Father's hand, I knew this moment would come. I knew you would be here, in this place, in this specific season of your life, with this specific ache in your chest, and this specific question you cannot seem to silence. And I have something to say to you. So before you move, before you minimize this, before you tell yourself you'll come back to it later, understand that I have been trying to reach you. Not for days, not for weeks. For longer than your heart can comprehend, I have been standing at the door and knocking. I have been sending signs that you almost noticed. I have been whispering into the quiet moments of your 3 a.m., when the house was still and the world outside seemed indifferent, and you lay there staring at the ceiling wondering if anyone, anywhere, truly saw you. I saw you. I see you right now. My child, we need to talk. And what I have to tell you is not small. What I have to say to you today carries the weight of heaven behind it. I am not speaking to you through philosophy or theory or the carefully polished words of those who study me from a distance. I am speaking to you the way a shepherd speaks to the one sheep who has wandered to the edge of the cliff, with urgency, with love, with everything I have. Because the truth is this: I have sent someone into your life. I have already placed a person, a specific, real, breathing human being, into your path. And the reason I am speaking to you today, the reason heaven has made space for this moment, is because you are in danger of missing them. You are in danger of walking right past the answer to your own prayers. Listen to me carefully. This is not a coincidence. This is not inspiration. This is not a feeling. This is a word from the Lord. Let me tell you something about heaven that most people do not fully understand. Heaven is not distant. Heaven is not a place that looks down on your life the way you might look down at a city from an airplane window, far away, blurry at the edges, impersonal. Heaven does not observe your life. Heaven participates in your life. Every breath you have drawn has been recorded, every tear that has traveled down your face in the darkness, when no one was watching, when you told yourself you were fine, when you splashed water on your eyes before walking back into the room where people needed you to be strong. I counted those tears. Did you hear me? I counted them. The psalmist knew this. He wrote it thousands of years ago, that I collect your tears in a bottle, that I record them in my book. That was not poetry for the sake of beauty. That was revelation. That was a man who had been broken enough, and still enough, and desperate enough to actually feel my nearness. And he wrote down what he felt, because he wanted you, living in this age, in this moment, to know that you are not invisible to heaven. You have never been invisible to heaven. I know what you cried about last night. I know the conversation you replayed in your mind before you finally fell asleep. I know the relationship that has been draining you. I know the door that was slammed in your face, the opportunity that dissolved, the plan that collapsed, the person who walked away and took something from you that you're still not sure you've recovered. I know about the diagnosis that shifted everything. I know about the financial weight that you carry privately, that you smile through in public, that you pray about and then feel guilty for doubting, because you've been told that faith should make it easier, and you wonder sometimes why it still feels so heavy. I know all of it. Oh, and I need you to understand that my knowing is not passive. I do not simply observe your suffering the way someone watches a film, emotionally uninvolved, separated by a screen. My knowing is active. When you suffer, I move. When you cry out, even when the cry is wordless, even when it is just a groan, just a collapse at the edge of your bed, just a steering wheel gripped tightly in a parking lot where you sat for 20 minutes before you could compose yourself enough to go inside, I am there. I have always been there. Heaven sees every tear. Heaven sees every fear. Heaven sees every hidden battle you are fighting that you have never spoken aloud to any living soul, and heaven has not been silent in response. I have been sending help. I want to take you back to a specific prayer. You may not remember the exact words. You may not even categorize it as a prayer. It may have been more like a desperate exhale, a quiet cry into an empty room, a thought that crossed your mind in the middle of the night, or in the middle of church, or in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday when the weight of your life suddenly became too much to carry alone. But I heard it. You asked for help. You may have asked me to send someone. You may have asked me to show you the way. You may have simply said, "I can't do this alone anymore," and even in the incompleteness of that sentence, even in its rawness and its grief, I received it as a prayer. Because prayer is not always folded hands and eloquent language. Sometimes prayer is the simple, trembling admission that you are not enough on your own, and when that admission rises from a human heart, when pride finally breaks and the soul opens itself to something beyond itself, heaven responds. Heaven always responds. So I answered you. I sent someone. I placed a person in your path, and I need you to understand the weight of what I am saying. I did not accidentally allow this person to enter your life. I did not permit a coincidence. I orchestrated an encounter. I arranged a meeting. I nudged a circumstance. I moved a schedule. I shifted the direction of two separate lives so that they would intersect at exactly the right moment. Your moment of need, because that is how I work. I do not do accidents. Jeremiah knew this. I told him directly, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." That promise was not only for Jeremiah. That promise was not locked in a single generation. That word was placed in Scripture like a seed in soil, and I intended for it to grow across every century, to reach forward through time and land in the ears of every broken person who needed to know that their life was not random, that their suffering was not purposeless, that someone with the authority to orchestrate history was, in fact, working all things together for their good. All things, not just the comfortable things, not just the answered prayers that arrived on schedule, not just the seasons of abundance and clarity. All things, including the loss, including the betrayal, including the wilderness season you are walking through right now, are being woven together by hands that do not make mistakes. And part of that weaving is the person I sent you. I watched the nights when you tried to convince yourself that you no longer cared. I watched you rehearse strength in front of people while your spirit quietly unraveled in private. I watched you answer messages with smiles while your heart carried questions you could not answer. I watched you sit in rooms full of people and still feel alone. I watched you stand before mirrors wondering whether the person looking back at you was still the same person who once believed so deeply in the future I showed you. And still, I never stopped speaking your name in heaven. My child, listen carefully to me now. The enemy has tried very hard to make you believe that delay means denial. He has whispered that if the promise has not arrived yet, it must not be coming. He has tried to reinterpret your waiting season as proof that I have changed my mind about you. But I do not change my mind the way humans do. I am not moved by emotion the way people are moved by emotion. I do not wake up one morning and decide you are suddenly less worthy of love because you struggled. I do not remove purpose from your life because you became tired. I do not abandon the work of my hands because the process became messy. When I begin something, I finish it. And I began something in you long before you understood what your life would require. There were things I placed inside you before your first breath. There were gifts hidden in your spirit before your mother ever held you in her arms. There were assignments written beside your name in heaven before you learned how to speak your own name on earth. And every season you have survived, including the painful ones, including the confusing ones, including the seasons that nearly broke you, has been shaping you for what those assignments require. Nothing has been wasted, not the heartbreak, not the loneliness, not the betrayal, not the tears you cried when nobody else was around, not the prayers you whispered through exhaustion, not the silent battles you fought inside your own mind. I have used all of it. Romans 8:28 was never meant to be a decorative verse people place on walls and forget when suffering begins. It was meant to be a lifeline, a revelation, a divine assurance spoken into human uncertainty. All things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to His purpose. All things, even this season, even this pain, even the chapter you thought would destroy you. My child, there are things being healed inside you right now that you cannot yet see. There are chains breaking quietly. There are fears losing power gradually. There are wounds closing beneath the surface. And there are people I am positioning around your life who will help carry you into the next season of your calling. You were never meant to do this alone. Do you understand me? You were never designed for isolation. In the very beginning, when humanity first walked in the garden beneath the light of heaven, my Father looked upon Adam and said something profound. It is not good for man to be alone. That statement was not only about marriage. It was about design. It was about the reality that human beings were created for connection, created for fellowship, created to walk beside one another through the beauty and weight of earthly life. Isolation distorts perspective. Isolation magnifies fear. Isolation turns temporary discouragement into permanent hopelessness. That is why the enemy fights so hard to separate you from the people heaven sends. Because he understands something many people still do not understand. Divine relationships are spiritual weapons. The right voice can interrupt years of darkness. The right friendship can restore hope. The right person can help pull someone back from the edge of despair without ever fully realizing how much their presence mattered. I have used ordinary people throughout history to accomplish extraordinary things. A shepherd boy defeated a giant. A prisoner interpreted dreams and saved nations from famine. A fisherman became a pillar of the church. A young woman from Nazareth carried heaven within her womb. Do not underestimate what I can do through a surrendered human life. And do not underestimate the significance of the people I place near you. Some people carry peace into your atmosphere. Some people carry wisdom for your confusion. Some people carry confirmation for prayers you have not spoken aloud. Some people carry courage for seasons when your own courage feels weak. Pay attention to how your spirit responds around certain people. Not every loud voice carries truth. Not every charming voice carries light. Not every person who speaks my name truly knows my heart. This is why discernment matters. Discernment is not suspicion. Discernment is spiritual clarity. It is the ability to recognize what carries the fragrance of heaven and what does not. The people I send toward your life will draw you closer to truth, not farther away from it. They will challenge the darkness in you without humiliating you. They will encourage your growth instead of feeding your destruction. They will speak life into your purpose instead of quietly celebrating your downfall. And sometimes, they will confront you, because love tells the truth. There are moments when my love comforts you, and there are moments when my love corrects you. Both are mercy. I know there are areas of your life you still avoid confronting. I know there are habits you defend because change feels difficult. I know there are wounds you protect because healing would require vulnerability. I know there are fears you have carried so long that they have begun to feel like part of your identity. But fear is not your identity. Pain is not your identity. Failure is not your identity. You belong to me. And I did not create you merely to survive life while waiting for heaven. I created you to carry light in dark places. I created you to reflect my heart in a hurting world. I created you to become a living testimony that grace still transforms broken people. You still have purpose, even now, especially now. Some of you listening to my voice have convinced yourselves that your best days are behind you. You compare your timeline to everyone else around you. You look at their success, their families, their opportunities, their answered prayers, and quietly wonder if you somehow missed your moment. But heaven does not operate according to human timelines. I have raised people from obscurity in a single season. I have restored what looked impossible to restore. I have breathed life into dreams that appeared completely dead. Look at Lazarus. People thought the story had ended because the tomb had closed. They believed death had already spoken the final word, but they forgot who was standing outside the grave. And I am still the resurrection and the life. There are dreams inside you that are not dead, only waiting. There are promises over your life that are not canceled, only unfolding. There are prayers heaven has not ignored, only timed according to wisdom greater than your own. Trust my timing. I know waiting is painful. I know uncertainty can feel exhausting. I know there are nights when faith feels harder than fear. But hear me carefully. I would never allow you to walk through a season without purpose. Even the wilderness serves a function. The wilderness strips away false dependencies. The wilderness reveals what truly lives inside the heart. The wilderness teaches people how to hear heaven clearly because distractions begin to disappear when survival forces the soul into honesty. Moses met me in the wilderness. Elijah heard my whisper in the wilderness. John the Baptist prepared the way in the wilderness. And some of the deepest encounters you will ever have with me will happen in seasons where the world around you feels empty and quiet. Do not despise the wilderness. Some of the greatest revelations are born there. My child, I know you are tired. I know there are moments when you wish someone could simply place their hand on your shoulder and tell you everything will be all right. So let me tell you now. Everything will not always feel easy, but you will not be abandoned. There is a difference. I never promised a life without storms. I promised my presence in the storm. Remember the disciples on the sea. The waves terrified them. The wind shook the boat. Fear convinced them they were about to die. And all the while, I was still with them. Some of you are panicking because of storms while forgetting who remains in the boat beside you. I am still with you. When anxiety speaks loudly, I am still with you. When finances feel uncertain, I am still with you. When relationships become painful, I am still with you. When the future feels unclear, I am still with you. Isaiah said that when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. Notice the promise carefully. I did not say you would never pass through waters. I did not say you would never walk through fire. I said you would not face them alone. That changes everything. You have survived things people never fully saw. There are battles you fought silently because you did not want to burden others. There are moments heaven watched you sit on the edge of breaking while still finding enough strength to continue loving people around you. And I want you to know something. Heaven noticed. Nothing done in love is invisible to me. Every sacrifice, every quiet act of kindness, every moment you chose forgiveness when bitterness felt easier, every prayer you prayed for someone who never even knew you were praying. I saw all of it. Do not become discouraged because the world does not always recognize what heaven celebrates. Some of the greatest victories on earth are invisible victories. Choosing faith over despair is a victory. Choosing kindness after being wounded is a victory. Choosing to keep going after disappointment is a victory. Choosing to trust me again after heartbreak is a victory. You are stronger than you realize, not because human strength is limitless, but because my spirit has sustained you through moments that should have destroyed you. There were nights the enemy expected you to give up completely, but you are still here. There were seasons where darkness whispered that your story was finished, but you are still here. There were moments when the weight felt unbearable, but you are still breathing, still hoping, still listening, still searching for me, and that matters. Never underestimate the power of simply refusing to quit. Sometimes faith looks less like shouting and more like surviving another day without letting go of my hand. I know your faith has been tired, but tired faith is still faith. Even the smallest seed can grow into something powerful when placed in the right soil, and I am still watering the seeds inside your spirit. Do not lose hope now. You are closer than you think, closer to healing, closer to clarity, closer to breakthrough, closer to the answers you have been praying for, and yes, closer to understanding why certain people entered your life exactly when they did. Nothing about this season is random. The conversations, the encounters, the unexpected reconnections, the people whose words continue echoing in your spirit long after they spoke. Pay attention. Heaven often whispers before it moves loudly. I know some of you are waiting for dramatic signs while ignoring gentle confirmations, but I often move gently first, a whisper before thunder, a seed before harvest, a small cloud before rain. Do not overlook small beginnings. The kingdom of heaven has always moved through small beginnings. A baby in Bethlehem, a mustard seed, a shepherd boy, 12 ordinary disciples. And now, perhaps one ordinary conversation that will quietly change the direction of your life forever. The person I sent may not even fully understand their assignment yet. That happens sometimes. Many people are carrying heaven's purpose without realizing how significant they truly are. Do not expect perfection from them. They are still human, still learning, still healing in areas of their own life, but I can still use imperfect vessels powerfully. If I only used perfect people, history would be empty. My grace has always worked through weakness. Paul understood this when he wrote that, "My strength is made perfect in weakness." Do not fear your weakness so much that you forget my power. I am greater than your limitations. I am greater than your past. I am greater than the mistakes you still regret. Some of you still secretly believe you disqualified yourselves from the future I promised because of decisions you made years ago. But listen carefully. Your failures did not surprise me. Your struggles did not shock heaven. I knew every chapter of your story before you lived it, and I still called you. Peter denied me publicly, and I still built my church through him. David fell deeply into sin, and I still restored him. Jonah ran from my assignment, and I still pursued him across the sea. Grace is bigger than your worst moment. Do not reduce my mercy to the size of your guilt. If you have repented, if your heart still longs for me, if you still desire truth even through weakness, then understand this clearly. I am not finished with you. The enemy wants you trapped in shame because shame keeps people hiding. But conviction draws people back toward me. There is a difference. Shame says, "You are beyond redemption." Conviction says, "Come home." And my arms are still open, always. No matter how far you wandered, no matter how cold your faith became, no matter how many times you failed while trying to stand again, come back to me, not to religion, not to performance, not to exhausting attempts to earn love that was already freely given through the cross. Come back to relationship. Walk with me again. Talk with me again. Trust me again. Let me heal what life hardened inside you. Because the version of you I created still exists beneath the fear, beneath the disappointment, beneath the survival instincts this world forced you to build. I still see who you really are, and heaven still believes in the future written over your life. Before you scroll, answer me honestly.